Hi, I'm Kelly Cajo, founder of Smart College Visit and host of Campus Chat Live. And tonight I'm so excited because, well, we'll be talking about one of my favorite subjects for 30 minutes, and that is the college visit. And even more exciting, we're going to be talking about the new type of college visit, virtual college visits, and how they've evolved and how they're changing and what you can expect and what you can experience. And to lead us on this journey is the CEO of Campus 360, Gavin. Welcome to Campus Chat Live.
Thank you, Kelly. Super happy to be here.
Well, you know my enthusiasm for college visits, and I love that the technology has expanded a lot in the last few years. But I'm really excited about kind of the opportunity that has come about in the last few months due to the pandemic. So, why don't we start with a little bit about you and what is Campus 360?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, so I actually did go on my own sort of traditional campus visit adventure, actually with my father. It was actually a really incredible experience. I did I believe it was my senior year, well over a decade back, more than that. But it was very much sort of visiting campuses one by one. Campus 360 takes that same essence of what it's like to kind of go on campus and sort of travel around, but in a purely virtual context. And so we came up with the idea for Campus 360 as we became more and more familiar with a revolution in technology. We frequently hear about what's called 5G, which means fast internet speeds, frankly speaking, and the streaming revolution. So anyone who's used to watching YouTube or watching Netflix knows how powerful streaming is. Instead of having to download everything or go buy a video cassette, we just watch it in our browser. And so we knew that the technology is finally available that we can stream college visits, not just in the sense of like watching a video, but actually allowing students to choose their own adventure, explore, get an idea of what it would be like if they were actually going to go on those campuses. And of course, not just a single school. When they're doing their sort of college search adventure, they might be wanting to look at different parts of the country, different parts of the world. International students might not necessarily have the opportunity to come to the United States. If they're looking at US schools, maybe they're looking at schools in Canada, UK, wherever. And the idea was to kind of bring that whole experience, of course, not replacing the offline campus visit, but bringing it a little bit closer so that it can be explored in a web browser, on a phone, on an iPad, on a virtual reality headset. A lot of different ways they can explore. I can show you a little bit about my alma mater. Let's go dive into Columbia. So what I loved about Columbia when I was there was sort of that urban landscape. It was super exciting to kind of be in, not necessarily the heart of New York City, but very much in New York City, in Manhattan. And I love sort of, it still, however, had like this quad. And so you can get an idea sort of what that quad looks like. You can see there one of the libraries. Let's go ahead and click on that blue button. It'll show you where basically if we had a tour guide, the tour guide would be talking to us about sort of various locations. If I was going to do it if this way, I can click into the images. You can actually go ahead and click on that. Looks like a little diploma in the bottom right side next to where the audio button is. Not quite there. Yep, right there. And it actually allows us to open up and learn about, this is Butler Library. It's where we spend our late nights studying, learn a little bit more about each of those. Let's go ahead and click at that top image again as well. Yep, click on the image. Perfect. And it can actually get us a nice big look inside one of the various halls inside Butler Library. They don't let you actually go there in a physical tour, but get an idea. We spend our late nights studying by a lamplight there, which is kind of fun. Anyway, so let's go ahead and close. Let's hit the X's on those, shrink those under at the bottom. Yeah.
And Gavin, one of the advantages I see right off of this type of technology is that when you're on a traditional walking campus tour, you don't always get to go inside the buildings you want to go in.
That is true.
Reason with classes going on, this gives you a lot more freedom.
Mm-hmm. That's it. It does, and it allows the schools to kind of feature different elements of campus. Sometimes labs that are otherwise closed, new buildings that are under construction, or allow you to teleport to different regions that you ultimately, you're right, wouldn't get to see. Student dorms sometimes are off limits, things like that. So it's super fun. Let's actually, there's another fun one. Let's go click the top left back button just to show off an example that I think kind of shows that off a little bit more. Let's scroll down to maybe George Washington or NJIT, either of those. One of the top two right there. Let's go see George Washington. So they really wanted to show off, as an example, their laboratory facilities. This is the engineering school, and they knew that because of Corona, this was actually a very recent tour, it wasn't going to be possible for students to go visit their labs, which is a key feature of an engineering school. So go ahead in the bottom and see the Places button. It's going to say Places. Let's click on that, and let's jump to, let's go to the clean room. I guess I'm personally not super familiar with what that is, but we're going to go visit anyway. Mm-hmm. And it gets you an idea of sort of how we can actually walk through their labs and get an idea of sort of what they are. I have no idea what either of these machines are, but I imagine to someone who does know what they are, it's probably very important. Gets an idea of the kind of facilities and what we could expect if I was going to go work at this lab or attend as a graduate student. Hmm. Yeah, so allows us kind of hop to different locations, whatever it is that we'd like to see, things like that. Mm-hmm.
It's so much more in depth.
Yeah, and it really is. I will say that the institution itself has a lot of control over what they are showing, how they are showing it. Yeah, and it gives us an idea of sort of what campus can be like if we were there. Right now, we're exploring on a browser. So this is a shared screen browser. But for any student who's watching who'd like to kind of get a slightly different experience, I'm sure many of you have, if you have an iPad at home. I personally kind of like an iPad. I'll give you an example of that here. I'll have to show this through the image. Mm-hmm. But what's kind of fun is that, especially if you have parents that don't necessarily like getting bounced around too much, you can kind of control that experience with a finger, just kind of looking around. I can still have full control. I have to do this backwards, which is kind of tricky. I can still open those stories and get an idea of what that looks like. I can still travel to different destinations. Let me try and do this backwards. Harder than it looks. Yeah, and I can still have full access and look around basically campus this way, which can be kind of interesting. If I'm a student and I'm actually logged in, I can actually go ahead. There's a like button here in the bottom right. And if I press the like button, it'll actually allow me to save in my profile all the schools that I like. And so if someone does that, then you can very quickly go to your profile and see all the schools that you like if you're sharing them with your parents or you're sharing them with a counselor or something like that. Or if you're a counselor and you have a specific student who wants to have a certain set of campuses they want to review, they can save them all and then go back and look at them later. So it's just a cool way of doing things. Probably for those that are more familiar with virtual reality, the final way to view is, of course, with a virtual reality viewer. A virtual reality viewer is something that enables, there's a great example of one. It takes basically your cell phone and turns it into a virtual reality enabled device. And what that means is inside the phone, so in the technical side of things, we have what's called a gyroscope. A gyroscope is what allows us to actually identify what we're looking at, particularly when we're taking photos. That's how it knows what we're looking at, and the phone screen will actually move with us. Now, what we can do is we can duplicate the gyroscope. So it's actually, it will require a slightly stronger phone. So generally you need something stronger than an iPhone 7 or a Samsung 7. So basically starting iPhone 8 and later, your phone will be sufficiently powerful to do this. And then what you're going to do is you would actually on your phone, open up Campus 360, pick any tour you want. So I'm here inside of one, and you'll see the gyroscope's already kicking in. The gyroscope.
You're on your browser?
I'm in Safari. I could also be in Google Chrome. I could be in any browser. Just you can see up here typing in campus360.org. Actually, I'll take you through that process very quickly.
There was no app to download to get to.
Yeah, no download of any kind. Just went to my web browser, find a school that I like. If there's a specific school I want to search for or browse for, I can go ahead and do that. We only, just for convenience, we don't put too many on the homepage, but you can always load more. There's tons and tons and tons for you to search for. Just because Stanford has a beautiful sky shot, let's go ahead and visit. Let's go visit Stanford. And so you can see we're here starting with a beautiful drone shot right across the top. And so I can actually look around this way if I wanted at the various elements of the school, putting it a little closer so there's a little bit less glare. And so what I can do is actually in the bottom in the bottom corner here on the opposite side, you're going to see there's actually a little icon here that looks like a cardboard headset. So if I go ahead and press that, the gyroscope duplicates. And what it's doing is it's actually, while these images look identical, they're actually not. It's for the different positioning of your eyes. So I would then take this, stick my phone inside the VR headset, and then be able to walk around the campus this way, which creates a slightly more fun environment. I will say, for anyone who's not used to it, it can take a little getting used to. But otherwise, that's a fun way to explore campuses as well, if it's something you haven't done before.
It's a great immersive experience.
Mm-hmm.
When I've shown it to some people, it tricks your mind, and they've asked me, "Is this live right now?"
Mm-hmm.
They feel that they're there in that moment.
Exactly. Right now, the tech is almost there. Currently, almost always you are looking at a recording, a photograph, or a virtual reality video. Virtual reality video content is also pretty cool. I can show you some examples of that as well, but they are recorded. Live VR is almost there in terms of live streaming in VR. Will still take us a little bit longer. We probably need to get from 5G to 6G, simply because live streaming, kind of like what we're doing now in 2D, already takes huge amounts of data. Live streaming in virtual reality is even bigger. Here's a quick example of us kind of sort of tricking the system a little bit, where we actually have this is an example of something that schools do, universities can do to enable live streamed campus visits. But it's kind of a trick. The reason why I say it's kind of a trick, it's really cool, but it is kind of a trick, because so 2D guide, you're going to see me bottom left. I'm gonna be the guide for today's tour, but the individual guide, in this case me, to different parts of campus. So I can look around outside just for fun, look at the sky, get some nice real. And so you can see I, as the guide, can control the different locations where anyone observing can have that perspective. So it's kind of cool. And you'll see there's stories here. If we can drag over to the right side a little bit, you'll see there's still a story there. And the guide around. So this is just something to look forward to as more and more institutions are using reality. Not only will it be a self-guided, like you saw, being taken from kind of self-adventures, but also you'll have the guided experience. Someone actually, a campus ambassador who would traditionally you on campus will be leading you through a virtual reality tour. Fun. Let me go ahead and teleport us. I guess quick example reality video. I don't know if through it is easily in streaming. I'm going to take an example. Before times is the fountain in Rome, a nice shot that we got. Of course, Rome, everyone's social distancing. But an example of sort of how this virtual reality video can work. Let's see if this works through streaming. Take us into what's called a virtual reality image. So I take us into a live stream image of the tour, a live video. So you'll see here, you can actually look around and see an immersive VR video. Just go ahead and look left and right, and an idea of what this looks like. Yeah, you can see, and all the kind of people moving around doing their kind of interesting. So you can envision sort of how this is going to be for games or football games or whatever it is that you on campus. And of course, because there's a lag, but if you're doing it on your own, you can actually see all the kind of move video, which is super cool. Anyway, I did, one of my favorite parts of Columbia was being community. So here's an example. One of the cool things you can integrate a campus into the city or location that it's a part of. So my favorite to go while I was a student was the Public Library. I was actually able to kind of link up between those two locations. If we actually you'll have to control it, take us to the other. I think control it. I will go ahead and do that. I will take us to others. I can do a view align and take us around. So yeah, so you can see what it's like to kind of really explore VR inside New York, for instance. Kind of fun. So yeah, so this just gives you an idea of what these experiences can become increasingly immersive. Time goes. This is an example of embedded live stream that is built into a virtual tour. I will say this is sort of brand new. This isn't sort of something that every university is ready to do yet, but it is definitely something to expect. In addition to sort of having the tour, kind of first step. Next step, you'll start seeing live stream, and then a whole bunch of things will come after that. So it's a really exciting time.
So it's right now with what's available, a student just needs a browser or their phone.
Super easy. Yep, it's a browser, your phone. You do need a phone that's a little bit stronger than an iPhone 7. So you are a slightly newer phone, though we are in, I think we're in generation iPhone 11 now. So 8, 9, 10, 11, and you're good. So hopefully you're fine there. And if not, a web browser works just fine. I personally like the iPad the most, though I know a lot of people, there's a lot of appeal for the headsets, of course. For those who really want to kind of take it up a notch, they make these super cool, hyper-powered headsets, the most common of which is called the Oculus Quest. I don't have one with me. Oculus Quest is so you can play VR games like Beat Saber, things like that. So that's like really, if you want to kind of take it above the next step, you can view this content in like an Oculus Quest, which is a whole different experience altogether. It gives you 6 degrees of freedom, which means you can kind of walk around, as well as a deeper cascade effect when you're actually looking into it. You have a more full view because you have a bigger screen. So it can be fully immersive.
So there's such an obvious benefit to the campus visit, with this technology. And one of the, when you're doing the campus tour guide or campus ambassador led streaming, that probably gives the opportunity for students to be able to ask questions in person. So to marry that technology with the live experience.
Exactly. It's brand new. We actually, that actually kind of happened purely because of COVID. So I guess that was one of the things that kind of happened. I mean, basically, when we had initially started working on this technology, we did not intend or plan on embedding ambassadors into the tour itself, because people would be like, well, why would you have to do that? I mean, a student coming on a campus tour will come on, like, once they get to that point, we'll meet the ambassadors in person. But of course, now that wasn't quite sufficient. The tour itself couldn't just be a self-guided adventure. It also needs to be an info session, kind of like an on-guide campus tour. And so we quickly did some adjustments to embed the live streaming into the campus tour experience, which has kind of evolved into its own thing. So we're thinking now, even past COVID, you will now be able to have virtual tours, campus tours, led by ambassadors for people all over the world. So it's hopefully going to bring even more people onto campus than was previously possible.
Well, the impact on recruiting international students is going to be huge with this.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, accessibility as an international student is huge. I studied abroad myself, actually in Beijing. And I didn't have any idea where I was going until I got there. Virtual tours wasn't exactly an option at the time. And so, yeah, having the opportunity to kind of see where I was going. I mean, there wasn't even really kind of Google Street View then even. I really didn't get to see much. And so that this hopefully will be a totally different experience for people who are like, oh, they can actually go see where they're going to be staying. They can see their dorm. They can see how they're going to walk to class. It's going to be totally transformational, I think, for that.
And when we were, well, how many schools are working with you right now?
Mm-hmm. So the platform itself is over 418 schools. I would say, I believe more than half are American universities,
Mm-hmm.
but also you have schools from all over the world. You can go ahead and explore. There's a search bar and a browse. We're actually about to come out with a new version of the browse as well to allow people to browse multiple locations or multiple specifications. Right now, you can only choose one. So you can click public and it'll take you to all the public schools. We realized our browse feature needs to be improved. The improved feature will come out actually in September, which will allow you to choose like public university in the United States. With like you'll be able to choose multiple categories basically to kind of narrow it down. That was actually told to us by like a college search friends. We never thought about it before. So we're going to be doing that. We're also actually thinking about creating a map as well, so you can explore based on different parts of the world and view sort of which campuses are there, which will be kind of cool. But yeah, we're constantly upgrading, constantly adding schools, just to give you an idea of sort of the things that you will have to come. So it should be very, very fun.
And then the colleges and universities and link to this on their websites, so it can be found in multiple.
Exactly. So the schools, of course, do embed the tours frequently into their own sites directly. So a lot of the time, you can actually find it on the campus's site. This is the Campus 360 tool itself is actually only truly independent if you want to kind of see multiple schools and compare. I think that's probably where it becomes useful to see it on the Campus 360 site. If you know your schools, you can go straight to the school and see, like if it's just one or two schools, you can go straight to the school, and generally, not always, but most of the time, I think they have it embedded directly into their own site. So you can actually see the viewer directly there.
I like that you have international universities, because there really isn't a resource for students who want to study abroad, and they have to first know the colleges they want to explore rather than visually having a menu that they can pick from. So.
Exactly. And that's, I mean, as someone who did study abroad quite a bit, I can recognize sort of how nice it would be, especially when you're even something as simple as like, if you've lived in the suburbs, city life is so different. Maybe you've seen it in a video, maybe you haven't. But I mean, for me, I had lived in Connecticut suburbs, not that far from New York, but had never really spent any real time in the city. So going and feeling sort of those huge skyscrapers next to you, and even just the buildings, which aren't as tall in the campus, was just a totally different experience, as opposed to, for example, seeing more sprawling layouts of universities, or, for example, a slightly more a smaller liberal arts campus, which has its own aesthetic to it. So there's definitely different feels to all of the different campuses, which, of course, nothing beats going there in person, but at least you get a taste of kind of what that looks like from the images.
Yeah, we've in the, now we can call it the old days, 5 years ago, when, the type of content that we were putting on Smart College Visit was what is the images of what is the most photographed place on your campus, and what is the, what does your library look like? What do your labs look like? So we were just doing that photographic representation, and now they can walk into it, that is
exactly. And you actually, I mean, on colleges.com, if there's ever images that you like, I can teach you afterwards, but this is just cool to know. You can actually embed any images that you like directly, and any student can as well. We actually have full open API, which means that anyone can take the images on Campus 360 and embed them into their own sites, simply because we want more people to be able to explore and show off different locations. So the engine is like totally public, which is one of the benefits of this cloud-based solution, because it can be pulled into different sites, it can be pulled into different searches, it can be used anywhere.
I love that. I mean, it's like it becomes very universal then, right?
Exactly. And that honestly is something that only was very recently possible, because cloud-based solutions for something as heavy as virtual reality technology was only truly, I mean, it was technically possible more than 3 years ago, but not really in terms of being able to like be viewed in a browser. Looks like we've got one last thing that was pulled up here, probably worth mentioning. We frequently use two words. One's AR and one's VR. VR means a fully virtual world. AR is what people are familiar with like Pokemon Go, which means augmented reality, where we're actually taking virtual content and putting that virtual content overlaying that virtual content rather on top of the physical world. And so this is something that we can look forward to when we get back from COVID, or when COVID kind of goes away and we're back to visiting campuses in purpose. It's not like at that point virtual disappears. Quite the contrary. Virtual then becomes an enhancement of the physical virtual tour. So you can see here just a quick example of how someone's using, again, their cell phone. This is an example of a cell phone viewer in the web browser, where they can actually see the virtual pop-ups and the virtual room, the virtual portals. So here's an example of virtual pop-up on a cell phone in the physical world. And so this is going to mean that you could, for example, go visit Columbia, go visit Binghamton, whatever school it is that you want to see, have your phone out, or have a super kind of snazzy pair of AR headset. Like, those are very expensive and hard to find. So probably your cell phone, and see this virtual content in the school. So instead of having like a paper brochure or something like that, you're just going to take your phone out and you're going to see this stuff, and you can walk around and read it because it's overlaying that virtual campus on top of the physical one. And so I know it might seem like something out of like Ready Player One, like this virtuality world, but we're close. This is not, this technology exists. It's still rare. I don't want to go ahead and say this is something that everyone's doing just yet. But it is what I can very safely and comfortably say it will be something that we see on every campus, probably within 5 years, I'd say. The technologies now, universities, however, are not known for being the fastest change makers per se. So I think they're probably going to take 2, 3, 4 years to slowly implement over time. But it's something to be excited about and something to watch for.
Well, I'm really excited because we were working with a company that was doing AR several years ago, but it wasn't what it is today. You know,
Yeah, it's changing.
The technology is so much better. So this is very exciting, and I really look forward to seeing what those changes are going to be and how much more. I always feel like in choosing a college, the better informed you are, the better decision you're going to make. And this just enhances what you can know about a school right from your home.
Yep, we can envision a world where, I mean, you're going to put on a pair of AR glasses just a little bit bigger than this, be able to walk around campus and see that digital world open up on that physical campus. Or while you're at home, similar experience, slightly heavier. Virtual reality glasses are a little bit bigger, but still then have a similar experience as well. So the idea ultimately is for those experiences to get light, convenient, comfortable, blend together, and just enhance what that walkthrough would be like, whether you're there in person or not.
And, you know, for a traditional campus visit like you had with your dad, you know, parents have always shared with us that that's one of their favorite things to do with their kid, you know, very memorable for them and all of that. So that's going to change a little bit with all this.
There'll be camaraderie. I mean, I will say that trip, it was the road trip element of it that I think I truly enjoyed. Going to my dad, I didn't end up going to Cornell, went to Columbia instead, but going to his favorite pizza shop at Cornell. I mean, there are going to be elements of this that are always great in person. And so this is not a replacement for going in person. That's one of the reasons why I like to show how the virtual and the augmented, so you get sort of elements of the virtual tour in the augmented tour as well. Well, the way I envision it is for international students or students at a distance to kind of get a first taste of what it is to expect. Maybe a school that's like super far away that you'd never go visit, or it's too difficult to visit. And so if you're on one coast or another coast, maybe being able to observe, if I'm here in New York, going to visit a school in California, and maybe that's harder. And then sort of refining the search so that you can take that next step and go in person. But I still am very much a proponent, when it's possible, to get people to also take that step and go visit in person as well.
I agree. And with this technology, even when you're doing it with your parents, if they've gone through the tour as well, then they'll have their own list of things they want to
see. Exactly.
It's a win-win for everybody. Well, thank you so much. It's been so exciting. I love seeing the new technology, and I love that the experience can still be meaningful and enhanced. So thank you for bringing this to us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Kelly.